I'm black just like you. I may not have like the money or the wardrobe and things like that because we immigrated here.
Let me just make it clear for someone who's non-black. This history is for everybody.
So my name is Luc Cadet. I'm the founder and president of Abantu Audiobooks. We started that platform about 2015, started bootstrapping it. And the goal was to create a platform that not only empowered us through stories and narratives, but really would hopefully connect us as a culture, as a people throughout the diaspora, and even within other cultures that suffer and go through similar struggles as us in terms of their stories not being told, their history not being told, and not understanding. So a platform to enlighten society.
Diversified Game. Learn how to start, run, and sustain your business.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, I have a brother here who I was just messing with him about his name. And if you guys ever see me doing some false valor as an admiral, a general, and everything else, my name is not going to be Kellen. It's going to be Luc Cadet. And you guys make sure you salute me and everything. But it's not like an actor's name. But he's going to give us the game on how he created this website, what the whole feel is. It's in Zulu. So my Zulu folks, forgive me, but I've been practicing my Spedi and my Xhosa so much. But Abantu audio. Luke, give us the game. Tell the people in the beginning, we might just get to hook them right now. Why do they need to be going to this website while listening to, this interview? What is it all about?
Yeah, so Abantu Audio is a platform that we created back in 2015. We bootstrapped it. And the goal was to have a platform that helped to unite and educate our folks within the diaspora, within the Black community. Because back in 2015, I saw that there was a lot of Black conscious books, Black empowerment books that weren't on audio. And so looking at a lot of the audiobook platforms at the time, they were none to be found. And I was like, this would be a tremendous opportunity to help not only educate us here in the States, but also help educate a lot of our people within the diaspora in the Caribbean, on the continent, because there at times seems to be a little disconnection between us. And I think a lot of that is because we don't know one another's stories. I don't think a lot of people on the continent understand the struggles that Black folks had to go through and fight here in the States. I don't think a lot of Black folks here in the States are educated on the struggles that people in the Caribbean, things they had to go through, and vice versa. And so at times there seems to be a disconnect between us. And in order for us as a people to rise up and really put ourselves in the best position as possible, we need to be on at least some similar accord when it comes to the understanding of our history and our culture, and bridging those knowledge gaps. I also found that, not only within the Black community, but there was a lot of disconnections within the brown community and Latino community in terms of their understanding of history here in the States. And so I figured, there's a lot of cross functionality between Black folks here in the States, Black folks in the Caribbean, and Latino people in the Caribbean. Why not also create a platform that their stories can be told as well? We can understand one another. And at some point, we can understand that we're not enemies, and we could take a look at who the real enemy is.
And let the people know, because we're going to go into the conversation. I see the silliness when, we have the infighting inside of the Black community and what is Black and what is not. And I've heard, people say Ethiopians aren't Black and South Africans looks like an Asian person for, some of our people that we work with. And you have a Haitian background. Were you born here or were you born in Haiti?
I was born on the island.
Okay. And what's crazy, about the Caribbean, and you tell me if I get any of this wrong, but to me, Black is Black. The struggle is real. I've gone to 26 plus countries. Everywhere we go, we are trying to fight, some colonial thing that had happened. But when you hear people say, we're talking about reparations here in America, and when those issues come up and people say, well, now the Caribbean people, they want reparations. But do you understand? We were property. So whether you were shipped from the Caribbean, directly from Africa, you could have been back and forth a few times.
Right.
depending, or just property, depending on your skill set. So when you hear these things that I believe this is the government, causing trouble, paying people to make this type of content. What do you say when you really do that deep dive and you have the books and you've read the books, which most people don't read? What do you say to the people who keep having a division between us?
I think to me, honestly, it's ignorance. And I'll say this as a Haitian that grew up in Florida, right? I unfortunately had to fight a lot of my black brothers and sisters, right? And the only when I was young in elementary, because we got picked on because we were Haitian. And at that young age, I didn't really understand why, because I'm black just like you. I may not have like the money or the wardrobe and things like that because we immigrated here, but I'm black just like you. So I when I was young, I never understood why we weren't like. And it wasn't until I got older I started realizing, like, oh, they're barely teaching us Black history that happened here in this country, right? They're barely teaching us that Black history here in this country. Now, I look at that and I'm like, okay, well, if they're barely teaching Black folks their own history in this country, they're definitely not teaching Black folks about the history and the Black history in the Caribbean. They're definitely not teaching us the Black history in things that happen on the continent. And so I started thinking, I'm like, I highly doubt they're probably teaching Black folks in the Caribbean about the history of Black folks in America. And so I started thinking about it, and thank you to the internet, I started meeting people on the continent and asking them these questions, like, were y'all taught about, did y'all know about the things that were happening here? Like the Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma, like, did y'all know about, they're not educated on that. And so what I realized is that there is an ignorance because we weren't educated properly. We were not only were we miseducated, but we were socially engineered, right? And so I think, and that's why, going back to the platform, it's so important that we not only understand the history of Black people's struggle here in this country in depth, but it's important that we also understand the history and struggles of Black folks globally, because only through that understanding will we be able to start seeing each other and seeing where the struggles, where all of our struggles came into play. And through that understanding, we can actually get on one accord and stop beefing. Me personally, I think that, and I hope and pray that here in this country, Black folks get reparations, because if Black Americans get reparations, if we get reparations here, then that is the linchpin of reparations throughout the Caribbean, Latin America, and Africa. And I think it's so critical that we support those reparation movements in this country, because when it happens, that's going to be the key that unlocks the door for all of the other Black folks that were enslaved in the Caribbean and Latin America, and the ones that dealt with colonization and some form of enslavement on the continent, to receive those same reparations. And I think personally, that's why they fight it off so much, because they know you're setting a legal precedent at that point.
And I think what scares people is somebody's going to get theirs first, because I know if the Caribbean, let's just say Haiti got theirs first, do you know how many non-Creole speaking folks, hey, Safase, you're going to find people with lineage that they had to go to their grandmother's grandmother, dig her up and say, no, look, there's some pickles in here somewhere. We did the because the best pickles is the one in the back. So picture, I'm sorry, y'all, but picture grandmother in the casket. That pickles, it was cool, and let me stop. Yeah, that's gonna be the spiciest, tastiest one, as long as that temperature stay cool underground. We don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's just like when certain artists, I'm here in South Florida, and when we hear the Rick Rosses and everybody starts saying, they're Haitian, and you're like, where did this come from? But I've seen this before, because I remember when the South blew up. And I remember when all the Bay Area artists where I'm from, and they all, my grandmother's from Arkansas, and it's true, but you never claimed any of that until it was, it was something profitable. But with that, your program, and let me just make it clear for someone who's non-Black, this history is for everybody, because that's
Exactly.
also the problem. The masses need to know our contributions and also what we've been through, the good, the bad, and everything in between. So
Right.
have you tried to get this, linked up with any of the libraries in this country or abroad? Or is there a school, project that you're trying to put it in the school so the kids can get it? Like, give us your game plan.
Yeah, so it's interesting because when we first started off, I didn't know how to go about getting like the rights to even produce the books, to make them into audiobooks, to sell them and have them available on this platform. So what I realized was that there's a lot of prestigious universities in the country that they have university presses. And so our first partner in terms of being able to have a production partnership where we can produce their books was Rutgers University. So Rutgers University Press is was one of our first partners that, we contractually we were allowed to take a few of their books and start producing them and put them on the platform. And so the goal has always been to go back to the academic and educational field, because that's where it starts. And so although this is currently a consumer-based platform, so anybody can just go on there, sign up and start consuming those titles, the goal is and has always been to embed this within the libraries, within the university's press, the university partners that we have. So we're partnered with NYU Press, we're partnered with Rutgers University, we're partnered with Duke, we're partnered with University of Florida, University of Texas. So these are like university partners that we have in terms of on the production side. The goal would be to then convert that production partnership to now being a digital retail platform partner, where the university would pay or sponsor an annual subscription for their students and faculty to have access to these titles. So that would be the goal, and that's what we envision.
Thinking about this, like how Audible had exploded and all the various partners that it took to do that. What benefits you more? Is it the paid plans or just people signing up? So then when vultures come around, they can say, oh, you have this amount of people subscribed. We see what you need. Like, what can the community do? Is signing up helpful, or do they need to purchase the plans as well to help this business grow? Because you can take it in so many different ways.
Yeah. So and this is just some game for y'all, because I started learning a lot of this as we went, because like when you talk about coming up from the mud, we literally came up from the mud. So like we learned this as we go. And so just to give some folks some game, what I realized as I begin to, because we now have partnerships with some of the major publishers like Hachette, like Simon and Schuster, right? These are the top 4 or 5 publishing companies in the country and in the world, really. And so as we started taking a look at the distribution contracts with them, we realized that it serves us as a platform more for people to actually subscribe and leverage their credit from that subscription to purchase the book. So yes, subscriptions would be the utmost thing that folks can do to help support us, and not just subscribing, but again, because like I said, we're bootstrapping it, and the reason why we decided not to take any outside investment is because we didn't want anybody that had money, that especially that wasn't within our community or it wasn't like-minded, because not all kinfolk, all that. So we didn't want to take any money because we didn't want anyone to deter us from the goal and the mission and what we're trying to do, right? Because once people start giving you money, they can tell you what to do because they're giving you the money. And so we decided to use our own money to bootstrap it and build it up, and so that we actually put it in the right place where it should be. Because we saw what happened with BET, right? BET got sold and that was it. There go our Black entertainment television. And so subscribing would be tremendously helpful, and just spreading the word, because we can market and do digital marketing on our own, but I think it's more powerful, especially within our community, if you heard it from your cousin. if your auntie came through and say, yo, check this out. And that's what we learned at early on as we were producing this and as we were creating this. There was a sister in Chicago, you know, because we were trying to put our folks on, like, listen, if you got a closet, you got a laptop, you got a little mic, cheap mic from Best Buy, we could work together and we could try to create something. So we had a sister in Chicago. We had her reading one of the books from Rutgers. And I remember she reached out to me one time. She was like, yo, Luke, this is going to be so tremendously impactful because I'm reading this book. I never knew these stories. And I just sat down with my 4 girls and we started talking about what I just read for you. And, you know, when I started hearing things like that, I was like, damn, man, like this is really going to be something that really going to help our people out and take us out of this mental enslavement that sometimes we in. So just spreading the word and subscribing would be the thing that I say that would help us the most.
And, you know, when people think of subscription, and this is also how our community works, and it works like this globally. It's funny, whenever you go around the world and you see our people, you say, oh, okay, I understand. But I remember a Roku TV back in the day, and I would say, hey, I want to sign up for this. And Nigerians or other Africans would say, don't sign up. The Nigerians will steal your credit information. And I'm like, well, that's why you have a bank, or that's why you can also do a prepaid thing. If you're that worried, I'm not worried about 419. I'm not worried about my people. God got me. But they then, once you get over that, will say, and I'm sure you've heard this, well, I'll sign up, but how many titles do you have? And how many of those titles do I really want to listen to or like? So what does the catalog look like? And, you know, is there a lifetime membership where someone can say, look, I want to pay for this one time for life? Because you might not have catalogs I like now, but maybe, you know, in a month, in a week, there may be something I want to get. Because you even have essays on there, which I think is kind of dope.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we're going to be working on, and the only bad side of bootstrapping, it takes a little longer. That's the only bad downside, right? Yeah. So we're working on creating different tiers, different payment tiers, because we're planning on even putting podcasts on the platform, right? We're planning on putting short stories and things like that on the platform. And so it's just taking a little more time for us to get there. So in terms of the catalog, if we wanted to, we could have literally have 5, 10, like thousands of titles on the platform right now as we speak, or as we get ready to launch this mobile app. What's taken us a little longer is that we wanted to make sure that we curated it so that it was a very unique experience for our targeted demographic. Because I'm not going to front. Me personally, as someone that grew up in the hood, there's a lot of books that get published that I don't think Black folks care about, to be honest. Like I don't think we care about Carlene and her dog, right? Like you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised the type of books that get published. I swear to God, I saw a book just the other day. We was downloading some books from one of the publishers, one of the major publishing partners, and the book was about somebody's dog, and I'm like, ain't nobody care about nobody care about this, bro. So we're trying to create a unique experience that will help educate our folks, whether it's from a financial standpoint, whether it's from a health standpoint, whether it's from a spiritual standpoint, whether it's from a historical education, knowledge-based standpoint, all of those things, and try to curate an experience that really our community would actually appreciate. That's not to say that there won't be white authors in there, because there will be. You know, the knowledge is in there. It is what it is. That's who wrote it. The information's in there. We need it. It is what it is. But so it will be limited at first. But once we create the proper algorithms leveraging AI, it'll help us to curate these book collections a lot faster. And so rather quickly, you'll start seeing a tremendous expansion in terms of the books. I think right now we got about like 200, 300 books right now. When we launch, we're hoping to launch with hopefully about 1,000 titles. But again, these are very specific. Like we're handpicking these books on there. We're not just allowing all the books that we get from the publishers to get on there. Because just for some context, if we wanted to, we could have over 23 terabytes of books on the platform currently right now. Just
Wow.
and I don't know if people know what a terabyte is, but that's a lot of data, right? And
You're
so
gonna
we could
you're gonna need a couple of Nas devices for that. So you're gonna need a couple Synologies, more than a couple. Yeah,
right,
that's a good amount.
right. So if we wanted to, we could have put this 23, 24 terabytes of books that we've been downloading for the past 2.5 years, and we could have put it all on the platform, and you'd have tens of thousands of books. But then, what would make us different than Audible? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're not trying to be Audible. Audible does their thing. Our thing is very catered to a specific demographic and specific purpose. And so we're being very purposeful with the type of titles that we put on there.
Well, we can say you're the African Audible since the name is Zulu, and then soon, they'll say, "Hey, can we buy you out?" That's how that usually works once you build it, right? And when you talk about being bought out and whoever is giving you money, this sounds like some of that relationship talk we hear, online. Whoever's
Right.
giving you money and getting your nails done or paying for your school, that might be the person you have to listen to, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just saying. That's how that works. But since you can have more titles on there, you have room for more as long as they fit the genre. And I love that you said, 23 terabyte sounds. I'm sure Brother Polite could fill you up. Where he's at right now, he probably has another 90 books already done, uncopyrightable. But how do people pitch their book to you? Because I have a small and growing publishing company where I wanted to be in control of my book. And
Right.
how do I then take the maybe one now, two maybe Audible books that we've done? How do we pitch them to your company, and what does the business look like on that? Because of course, even on the podcast, I want to know for that as well, because I'm looking for my Joe Rogan check. It's coming. I got to put the work in that Joe did. But what does it take to pitch you guys? Do we need an agent to do that? There's any fees, and also how do we make any money back? How does that work?
Right. So right now, we accept emails from authors all the time that want their books produced into audio or want to put their books on our platform. And so so how it works is that you reach out. This is what you're trying to do, whether it's get your book produced or whether it's getting your already produced book on the platform. We'll have a conversation, schedule a meeting, discuss it, go through what our process looks like, discuss whether it's going to be an exclusive or non-exclusive process. Because just because you and that's the thing, we kind of built like two companies at the same time. We built the production side and then we built the platform side, right? So we wanted to be vertically integrated like that because we wanted to make sure that we controlled all of those processes. And we'll talk about the production side in a little bit because that was important too, why we did that. But so if you choose to go through us to produce your book, doesn't mean you actually have to have your book on our platform. You get what I'm saying? So let's say, for example, we actually produced this white dude that I knew in San Antonio. He had a book. It was independently published, and he wanted us to produce it because him and I we had a rapport. I told him, I'll produce it for you. It ain't the type of book that's going to go on our platform, but I'll produce it for you. So he paid us to produce it. His publisher took the book and put it on Audible, right? No problem. We were just here for the production services. You got it. Now, if you go through us through the production service and you want it on our platform, then that's a different conversation too. Okay, cool. Now, do you want it on our platform exclusively? And by exclusively, it means our platform is the only place that you'll find this book. So, for example, a lot of the books that we have from the university presses, the only place you're going to find them is on our platform. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to find a lot of the books that we have on our platform right now, you're not going to find them on Audible because they're exclusively on our platform. So you can choose that route, or you can go a non-exclusive route where it'll be on our platform and it can be on all the other platforms as well. So it really depends on what you want. Obviously, if it's exclusive, there's a higher royalty percentage that we give out. But ultimately, it depends on the conversation and what the author wants to do or what the publisher wants to do for that matter. If you already have a book that's already produced, it's let's say it's on Audible and you want it on our platform as well, then we'll just have a discussion about distribution. It'll be a distribution contract. We'll talk about what the royalty splits will look like. Obviously, non-exclusive, less royalty splits, which that's just common throughout the industry, and then we can rock out that way.
Hello everyone, join us on an exciting journey with Explore the World Cameroon. London and Sydney go take you explore Cameroon, the heart of Africa. Experience the vibrant culture, nature and traditions from Yaoundé market to rainforest adventures. Every page na new discovery. Join the Cameroonian food, music and wildlife with our explorers. This book na true celebration of Cameroon spirit. Get your copy now. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and through your library and bookstores via Ingram's Park. Don't miss this adventure.
And with those splits, because when we consult people for our publishing company, there's like one book outside of my family that I've pushed, but people are always shocked about the splits from your KDP or Ingram Sparks, and people say, man, and Amazon is greedy. And I said, well, they know where the power is, and and so have you had anything where you're like, I'm able to do better splits than an Amazon, or is it similar to an Amazon? Because there is a cost to this. There's a cost to having a server and keeping it up, whether you're on Synology or that crackhead AWS, which always needs some money. But where are your? Let us know about those splits so they're not shocked when they.
Yeah, so our royalties tend to be a lot higher than Audible, and I think for us it's because it's the people that we're serving, right? It's the community that we're a part of, and to be frank, although there is a cost, don't get me wrong, there is a cost, and the cost is a lot, which is another reason why we don't have tens of thousands of books. That storage space is a lot of money. I ain't gonna lie to you. But
that is gas fees if you're a crypto person. I don't know.
Listen. I looked at my Google Cloud bill the other day. I was like, man. But we try to give higher royalties because the books that we're trying to put on our platform, the people that we're serving, the authors that we're trying to empower and amplify, they're from our communities, right? And so it would make sense for us to be the one that pay you more in terms of royalties. It would make sense for us to help empower you in terms of ownership and for trusting us to provide our services to you. And so as we grow, because to be frank, I feel that although there is costs that are involved with this, there is a level of capitalism and greed that has to be taken into account. Right. And yes, you can say, yeah, well, you have it on our platform. Because of that, you have access to tens of thousands and millions of people. That's why we're not giving you this much royalties. But is that fair? Right. And we try to be fair. We try to be even till when it comes to the partners that we bring on and the people that we're dealing with, especially within our community. And so we tend to give more revenue splits because of that. Because ultimately, the way I look at it is the authors and the publishers are the ones that are creating the content, ultimately, right? So with no content, what's the point of the platform? If we don't have authors, writers, poets, things of that nature actually creating the content to actually have on the platform, then what platform do you have? Right. And I try to remind myself and keep that in my head as we grow and as we expand, because I really want this to be a platform. I mean, the name Abantu means people and or community. And I really want this platform to be a platform that our people, our community can say, yo, we gonna rock with y'all. You know what I mean? So we have to be fair. And at times we have to give more.
I love it. I love it. And, sometimes people say, like Gordon Greco, greed is good and you're not greedy enough, but if you can sleep at night, peace is good. Being able to, help is a great thing. And, this is new. So, and that you have, your two other partners, Alejandro and Travis. Talk about those partnerships, because to keep something together, it's not easy. Whether it's business related or relationship. I mean, all of this is business related. It's all the same thing. But how did you guys all come together? And are you guys able yet to say we're doing this full time? Or are we still in the grind of things?
Right. So the thing is, those brothers were and are my friends. So and to be honest, although life has gotten in the way that made them have to step down in some instances. So it is just me and a new team that I have. Those brothers are and were my friends. So for example, I call him Hondo. I knew Hondo when I was 16. We played high school football together, right? He played strong corner, I played weak side corner, right? His family and my family, we know each other, right? So there was and one thing I appreciate about that brother is that his father raised him on the Black Power movement. So he knew about the Black Panthers. He knew about Malcolm X. I think Malcolm X is like one of his Malcolm X and Huey P. Newton are two of his idols. You know what I mean? And he's a Mexican Native American brother, but he's very aware and very familiar with that because his father taught him and educated him on those movements, right? My friend Travis, I've known him for since my freshman year of college, right? So these ain't just strangers. These are people that have a very similar mentality as me in terms of trying to liberate our people. And so when I initially started Abantu, I reached out to Honda and I told him, listen, this is what I'm thinking that I'm going to be building for the Black community, because I know our community needs it. But I also know, because we were in New Mexico together, I know that the Latino community needs it, because I know just being in New Mexico that y'all don't really know y'all history like that too. And that history ain't really talked about. Right. And he was very much on the same page at that time. So that's kind of what brought us all together. And Travis, he's also, he grew up in Texas. He has a very similar mindset when it comes to wanting to help enlighten our people and try to shed light on truth. Right. And so it just so happened that we were a very in sync group at the time. And what allowed us to for 6.5 years build this platform up together. And so now that it's me and a new team, because like I said, life gets in the way. And that's, again, another downside of bootstrapping. If you're not making no money, you still got to pay bills. And so we were all working not our 9-to-5s, using our own money to build this platform up. Life got in the way for both of those brothers where they had to take a step down. And so I just happened to be lucky and blessed to be in a position where my career allowed me to continue to financially back what we're doing on my own, right? And so I'm still working my 9-to-5 as I still invest in building this platform. Now that we're getting ready to launch the app, I'm going to finally be able to really market it and really boost it in a way that will allow people to come on board. Because this whole time, in my mind, we didn't have a full product. We had a website, but we didn't have all of the books that people would probably look for. We didn't have an app at the time that would make it a lot more convenient for most people to go listen, right? So now that we're in a position now where we have the major publishing partners, where we're about to have a mobile app, now we're in a position where we can finally launch it and make it scale. And hopefully, if the community supports it, I will be able to transition into it more full time, and I'll be able to bring on more folks within our community that has talents and skills to help us continue to build it.
I love it. And when you talk about Hondo, what people don't always know, like the Black Panthers came from the Deacons of Defense, but there were also the Brown Panthers, and they're, and even in the Nation of Islam, you have Hispanic members, you have Asian members, you have all everything, and people don't always understand that. And so, you know, it's always the same fight, and it's sometimes always the same villains. And sometimes those villains are inside the community, sometimes they're outside.
Right.
Now with this, just because the vultures are listening, the angels sometimes are listening. Are you looking for angel money, venture money? What type of money are you accepting if you're looking for money at all?
Right. So one thing about me growing up from the South, I don't play with people's money. So before I play with somebody's money, I was willing to lose my own. Right. Now that we're getting in a position where we have a full product, we have the MVP, we have everything set up, we can now potentially look for like-minded, aligned folks that would be willing to invest in this platform. We're probably going to do some type of crowdfunding campaign sometime in the near future, just so that we can give people within our community an opportunity, kind of similar to like Fanbase, how they've been doing those crowdfunding rounds. But we may be also looking into getting angel investors, again, like-minded angel investors that see the vision, that understand the purpose, and that fully understand that the mission can't be derailed for profit. So if we have those type of individuals out there that see the vision, understand the purpose, understand the opportunity, because I talk about, and this is where I kind of get tripped up about a lot, because I'm so passionate about it that I always focus on the vision, the reason, the mission, the purpose. But, you know, from a business perspective, we're just talking about dollars and opportunities. This opportunity is massive, because just to break down some percentages in my pitch deck that I have, there was an article that I read that said that only 13%, this is back in 2019 when that article was written, there was only 13% of Black people that were listening to audiobooks at the time, right? There was another article that said that Black folks on average read only about 8 books a year, right? And that same article mentioned how traditionally the publishing industry has never really truly marketed to our industry, or excuse me, our demographic. They really don't really push the publishing space is very white, right? So they've never really pushed their marketing efforts and focused on our communities in a way that would be impactful. And so you talking about not only just here in the States, but you're talking about an industry that's been growing double digits for the past 20 plus years. Double digits every year is growing double digits, 10%, 15%, 20%, 24% every year. The audiobook space or industry itself is projected by 2030 to be, I believe, a $25 billion, $24 billion industry. And it's going to just keep growing and growing and growing from there. You have these countries that initially they didn't have the technical infrastructure that are now starting to have that technical infrastructure. So countries on the continent in particular that didn't traditionally or historically have that technical infrastructure are starting to have that technical infrastructure, and they're writing books. They have all types of publishing companies there. So, and again, these white folks have not been promoting to these demographics. So there's such an untapped market that exists in this space specifically for our demographic, because let's be honest, we are the global majority. You know what I mean? We may be a minority here in this country, but when we look at the globe, which now economically everything's global, we are one of the most prominent and biggest folks in terms of Black people that there is. In terms of Latino and Native American, indigenous people, they're a big swath of the world. You get what I'm saying? So it's like between us, indigenous people, and Asian folks, that's the world. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, and those are the people that we're trying to target. So if we're just looking at it from a strict business opportunity and just financials, there's an untapped market there that we're trying to untap and be first to market for. So yes, we will be looking at angel investors. We will look at people within our community that be willing to invest. However, they have to be on the same page, and it would have to make sense.
Okay. And the reason why all of this makes sense, and I had to look this up because I knew the numbers that, less than 5% of Black Americans contribute to their 401k or fully fund their 401k for sure. I think it's even less for fully funded versus, people who are giving it. But it's like, I think the stats out there are like 15% of Americans even fully fund their 401k in whole, which is terrible when you think about this. This is what makes this country great, that you can put some money in an account and you can have millions as long as you keep pushing, that money in. But this stat I had to look up because I did not know. And it's from the National Literacy Trust. And it just talks about what we all know, but I like to have the facts so we're just not saying stuff. But it says and confirms that children and young people who have poor reading skill are less likely, like by 50% or more, to have financial issues. So if you're not reading, folks, you're not making that money, because with reading, you got some more knowledge. Miles Monroe taught us read a book a week, it'll change your life. And I can say it's changed me and my wife's lives. And we've always been readers, because then he said, read 2 books. Men, when your wife starts reading 2 books a week, you got to keep up. And it's like, you got to keep up. I love Miles Monroe. So, but that's the game. So you're getting game. Now, this is all brand new. So I want no pressure for you, and your whole existence and purpose is my next question. But I want to make sure I tap into everything. And I just want to know, what is your community give back that we haven't spoke about that you're doing or that you would like to do in the future?
Right. So so I'm a member of Phi Beta Sigma. Right. So early on, before this company was even in my brain to create, the model was coach for service, service for humanity. Right. So I've always been a type of person that gives back, does community service, is an activist, gets on the front line of protests and things of that nature. Just me as an individual. That's not speaking for the company. That's just me, Luke. But one of the goals that we always had when it came to this platform was, because I always looked at these businesses like Facebook, like Spotify, like Netflix. I looked at these big tech companies, right? And I'm like, man, they're making billions and billions and billions of dollars, right, every year. And I just thought to myself, I was like, man, like, if we had companies, Black folks in particular, if we started and ran and scaled businesses that can get up to the billion marks, right, then we can really start having a economic stimulus within our community. And I'll give you an example, right? So like I said, we are bootstrapping all this. So all the Black folks that came and read for us, we paid them out of our own pocket, right? And a lot of them, they never did this before. They learned it as they were going with us. So you had some folks narrating books for us that were getting $800, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 just to read a book for us, right? Now, again, I'm from the hood. And this is kind of where this idea even came from. It came from me remembering myself in the hood. And I'm like, man, if people in the hood that are, working their 9 to 5s, but then on the weekends, they can have like a little gig that pays them a little bread to read a book, that's an economic stimulus, right? And as we grow as a company and are being stimulated by our community, then we can become the Facebooks and Netflix and all that, and we can reinvest into the community. We don't have to go through the government and say, hey, and protest and fight and say, hey, we need a community center. We got the money. We can go invest in the community ourselves, right? Yeah. We don't have to wait and say, oh, let's take a vote. No. If we own and control our platforms and we have the financial means, and this is why this is so challenging to do something like this, you can then take some funds from that company and go and create a community center in Chicago, right? Create some educational programs, influence some people within that community. Amazon does this all the time. When they're trying to move into places, they tell the cities, yo, if you want us to move, then we need this lot, and y'all need to pay. Y'all need to give it to us at this price, or else we're not gonna move because you're not gonna get our tax dollars. There's influence there, not only just with that, but through it all. So when we talk about giving back, we want to scale this thing to a space where we can give back to the community in a real way, where we're talking about, okay, there needs to be a community center over here, similar to what the Black Panthers Party was doing, right? The Black Panthers, they created the breakfast programs, right? Yeah. Because it's something that the community needed, and they just did it on their own. Unfortunately, they didn't have the financial means back then. We're trying to get to a place where we have the economic means where we can be self-reliant on our own.
No, that's a beautiful thing, and we get to learn. And you think about, because my mother, she came from Arkansas to Oakland and saw all of that. And me being from Oakland, when you hear the stories, like what the Panthers did, you think if they could do that and they got it all from the community, we know that the governments could do way more if they wanted to. If that was part of, the plan when they're at the think tanks and thinking about things. And yesterday I was in DC just for the day, and I'm listening to a whole bunch of white men. Steve Bannon was one of them, talking about how when Black people, especially the business-minded Black people, connect with they were of course pushing Trump, right? But and I'm a straight independent, but they were, saying how when we all combine and come together, this government's really going to have an issue, because that's not what they want. Now, some of that is just talk, because we know what happens when communities try to come together. Sometimes, all type of nonsense starts, but that's just part of this game that we're in. But, when we can get access to the same type of capital, because there's opportunities that until the masses and the majority in this country open up, it's kind of hard to get that money. And I know Bezos gave, Van Jones and one other man $100 million. They can do what they want, but we just don't get those opportunities. And so for those of us who are thinkers, things are going to happen. Opportunities can open up. I actually just sent you via your LinkedIn, raiselink.co, which is another company that I think it would benefit you when you're looking for investor money, because for free, you can put all the information in, kind of similar to like if you were at the SBA, but much easier and quicker. And it's going to spit out something for investors, because when you are looking for investor money, what Chris was telling me, the CEO over there, he was saying most entrepreneurs, forget white or Black, they're not giving investors what they want, and they don't know. So we've made a platform. We think that we can help more people, especially minorities, because that's the type of guy Chris is. He wants to push that, because like less than 1% of companies get funded, and you're like, wow. And it's also where you're at too, because in Seattle, we turn down millions of dollars for our businesses, different things we have going on in healthcare, and even for clients' businesses. Like, no, we're not taking that money. And it was like something about Seattle. People go there, they learn, you understand the lingo, but more importantly, it's not about who you know. But Mr. Knowles here at the Miami-Dade Chamber always tells us it's who knows you. And when they know you and they want to write a check, they'll write that check. So, I love this. And I love that it's the best is yet to come for you, because you're just getting started. I want you to let people know where to go, where to find you. I'm going to have links in the description for all you listeners, but I also want you guys to go to the YouTube and give it some love, but let them know where they can find you.
Yeah. So if you want to check out the current website, we call it our pilot website. You can go to www.abantu.audio.com, and that's Abantu, ABAN as in Nancy, TU, audio.com. You can actually subscribe right now if you'd like, as we get ready to roll out all the things that I mentioned before. And also, if you want to check us out, we're on Instagram, we're on X, Facebook at Abantu Audio.
Awesome. And I thank you, the listener, making it this far, tuning in, and make sure that you at least go sign up, see the titles. I know my people are readers and you already got your thing going, but maybe this is that new thing. AI, before Neuralink comes, this might be the way that you can get your information. And when Neuralink comes, then you can just, tap in and you're still going to get the game. But reading is so fundamental. Please like this game. Please comment when you're listening and go over to the YouTube. And most importantly, everywhere you're experiencing this podcast, share this game with somebody. It will change their life. Be blessed, y'all.
Are you tired of the violence, tired of the injustice, police brutality, rampant discrimination, lack of gun control in this failed bio-socioeconomic experiment called America? Or maybe you need a break from the relentless grind and want to regain control of your destiny, your wealth, your health, and your purpose. DiversifiedGame.com has the right course for you. Prepare for my first trip to Africa. Looking to reconnect with your roots, start a new business, or just a fresh start. Africa, aka the motherland, is waiting. Don't let the Chinese and the Mzungus have the fun and also take over the motherland. From Cairo to Mombasa, from Dakar to Cape Town, Africa has something for everyone, from business opportunities to the most amazing people, safety, leisure, and landscapes. The opportunities abound. It is time for the diaspora to reconnect with their roots. Time to reconnect with the birthplace of humanity. Africa is the last frontier. Get your head in the game and reclaim your legacy. The writing is on the wall. Babylon is falling. Give up the stress, grind, and violence inflicted on our people on this continent and prepare for a journey of restoration and joy by connecting with the land of your ancestors. Check out our new course and kick off your adventure at diversifiedgame.com.